Well, Nick, as we step up in weight class, the light heavies and then the super heavies, either way, they both got the word heavy in it, and you know what that means.
You're getting excited, aren't you?
Yeah, this is some big punching power we get to see as they step up in the weight classes. And you look around this wonderful Heydar Aliyev Stadium and you start to get a view. There's not too many open seats. They're spotty. There's a few in the upper decks, and that's an unfair angle because the other angle you could see, if they show it, there really are a lot of people in this event, and there's not just the finals. That'll be tomorrow when I think we're going to be at a capacity crowd.
Expecting 6,000 plus tomorrow, which will make it very difficult for us to hear ourselves, particularly when you see the Azerbaijan boxers in the ring. But it's Russia and Cuba again in the first of these light heavyweight 81 kilo boxers, and the world #1 for Russia is definitely the man tipped for top position here. Egor Mekhontsev, 27 years of age, 184 centimeters of height, out of the Dynamo Boxing Club and residing in Chelyabinsk, against another Cuban. You're starting to calculate, just like we are here in the commentary box, why they are the most successful amateur boxing country in the world. This is Julio La Cruz, 22-year-old, again from Kamagai. Again, at this weight, the national champion, and qualifying to box at these World Championships by taking the Pan American qualifying event earlier this year. You've been focusing on these guys throughout the week, Castle, and again, contrasting styles, but both big, powerful boxing hitters.
Yes, and you know what's really interesting to note, they are both 4-time national champions. Mekhontsev, 4-time national champion Russia from 2008 through 11, and De La Cruz in Cuba, same thing, same years. 4-time Cuban national champ, 2008 to 2011. So, I mean, this is really where the rubber meets the road. This is two of the boxing capital's greatest in Russia and Cuba coming together to square off in the center of the ring, and they both bring a lot of power. This is great. This is one of the bouts I've really been looking forward to this evening.
The thing, or the reason why Castle Mekhontsev is world ranked #1, he's defending his title. He won this 2 years ago in Milan, and he also won the European title in Moscow. He's a big star back home in Russia, Egor Mekhontsev, and one of their fighters tipped for Olympic glory in London 2012. But we've seen the Cubans throughout today and throughout this competition spoil the party of a lot of favoured boxers. And let's see if Julio La Cruz can do the same again.
Well, you know, it's interesting, but this is perhaps a little avenged, because while you rightly noted, Nick, that he won in Milan in 2009, well, you failed to mention that it was over another Cuban, a gentleman by the name of Asme Acosta, with a score of 12-2. So perhaps this is De La Cruz's chance to get one back on behalf of his fellow countrymen.
He likes to think he can eat the Cubans for breakfast. Let's see if he can do it again.
The breakfast of champions. Again, we see a southpaw in Mekhontsev pitted against an orthodox boxer in La Cruz. You're going to want to see the boxers circle away from the big power punches. So you're going to want to see La Cruz start to circle to his left, away from that big left hand of Mekhontsev, and conversely, Cruz to his right. Or rather,
just a slight height advantage for the Russian, not too much. But when they're both jabbing, you can see that the advantage looks to be with the Russian in the red corner, remember?
La Cruz cautiously backing up, but then there's a nice quick advance, and he's going downstairs to the body, which I like to see early on, perhaps trying to get Mekhontsev attuned to the body shot so he could come back upstairs. It's often a tactic we see when you got the bigger punchers. You try and throw shots to the body to get them to drop their hands, to be prepared for that body shot. Once they do, you come back with that big overhand punch to the head. And there's a sneaky right hand by La Cruz, which looks like it caught the chin of Mekhontsev.
He's working well with his jab on the right hand, the Russian, but has yet to make good contact with the left. And the jab is effective for the Russian, but no combinations as yet. And again, La Cruz looks to have the speed and this ability to counter, almost read the mind of the Russian. Oh, good combination. The referee telling him not to spin around. Warning, caution, not a warning, my mistake. If it was a warning, it really would start to make this first round look a little different.
Pretty even so far, I would say. I'd like to see a little more offense by La Cruz. It looks like he's perhaps going to wait till the second round to turn it on. Mekhontsev seemingly more willing to engage, but pretty close all the same.
Yes, I think you're right there, Castle. Both boxers evenly matched. Both boxers just trying to see which will be the most effective punch to score the points. But for me, I just love the speed of the Cubans. You can't help but all of a sudden on that counter, you don't see it coming, and it just comes from nowhere.
And with the fluidity, it is indeed poetry in motion.
Lovely to watch. And that's what I'm sure Mekhontsev and his corner have been watching very carefully. A lot of homework, I'm sure, Castle, done before each match. There's confirmation, it is all square at 5-5.
Yeah, it's also interesting to note most of the Cubans in this tournament have come in quite tall, as tall if not taller than their opponents. So that always gives a tactical advantage in boxing if they use their weapons properly. And as we know, the Cubans are nothing if not fundamental. They're very keen on their fundamentals, and they bring it to bear every time they step in the ring.
Their drills and skills in the gym are something that they practice for hours on end. Now, who's going to make the first move in the second round? All square at 5 points each.
It's been quite a tactical matchup so far, and now both boxers really starting to let their hands go, and this is the first clinch I think we've seen in the bout. There's that right hand to the body again by La Cruz. Those points score as long as it's a clear, unobstructed punch by the front of the glove, landing on the face or the body. It's a point. So there's some nice engagement as well.
Oh, again, a lovely counter from the Cuban, just as Mekhontsev starts to feel that he's got a little bit of control, pushing the Cuban, and again, a lovely 1-2 from Cruz.
Do you get the impression, though, Nick, that Mekhontsev feels like he's starting to close the gap? You know, La Cruz is doing such a good job with his legs, and he's doing such a good job of staying away. Mekhontsev, on the other hand, is very much trying to cut off the ring. He's not quite doing a good enough job of cutting it off, though. If he's going to continue to come forward, I'd like to see him try and cut off La Cruz a little more, because right now La Cruz looks like he's just going to pick him off at will.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Mekhontsev looking to let some of his big punches out now.
See, he seems like he's following La Cruz around the ring, and he shouldn't just be following him. He should be anticipating where La Cruz is going to go. And now La Cruz's footwork is really starting to show.
Looking a little frustrated, the Russian in red. He's got to watch that he doesn't land too many blows with the inside of the glove. Egor, Mekhontsev. Julio La Cruz for Cuba, still on his toes, still light on the feet, dancing around the ring, picking off with the jab. Oh, a lovely body shot there. As our expert in the box, Consul Chalice, has pointed out, they score, and he's probably put 4 or 5 of those down in this round.
Yeah, I think what La Cruz has been doing so far has been working well. I just don't know if he'll be able to maintain that for one more round. He's doing a lot of sticking and moving, which works. It worked for a guy named Muhammad Ali. And look at that. It's just going to be very, very interesting to see how this third round unfolds with these boxers staying, for the most part, evenly matched.
This was the main exchange of the round. And again, I think, as you pointed out, Castle, picking him off with that jab, I'm sure that the Cuban has picked up some nice points with those body punches. And there you go. Well, I had them even again, but this time just 1 point ahead for La Cruz. And now 12-11 going into the third and final round of 3 minutes. And change of tactic, or does La Cruz keep sticking with the same plan?
Yeah, you know what? I just got this sneaky suspicion, Nick, that Egor Mekhontsev is not quite done yet. I think he's got a few more tricks up his sleeve. I think he's been holding back a little bit, and I think we're going to see a sense of urgency. He's shown that when he is able to cut off La Cruz's path, he's able to land some big shots, and I don't know if La Cruz will be able to continue to avoid that for 3 more minutes. We're going to find out, though.
Well, for the first time in this World Championship, the top-ranked boxer is trailing. He hasn't been behind in any of his fights, and now the pressure is on the Russian in red, and La Cruz continues to dance his way around the ring, pick off the boxer. And Mekhontsev now means business here. Immediately wants to get on with it.
Nice double jab by Mekhontsev. He just needs to throw that from a little closer range.
If he can just get those combinations to connect, would be a very different story, but you have to praise the footwork and the maneuverability of Julio La Cruz.
Yeah, and Mekhontsev, I mean, he's kept his composure for much of this, but I think he's going to need, especially since he came into this round on down 1 point, he's going to need to step it up a little bit. He's going to have to start throwing more punches and bunches, some combinations, and try and catch La Cruz, because this one punch at a time stuff is not going to continue working for him, at least not with 1 minute and 30 seconds to go.
Absolutely. If you're 4 points clear, then that's clearly the tactical plan to go for. But when you're trailing by 1, with a very fast punching, that's a little more like it from Mekhontsev. Finally getting the combination to score. Back of the head, warning, caution from the referee.
Yeah, I don't know that that was it doesn't really have much significance, but it seemed like that was more a result of La Cruz's head movement. The punch seemed to already have taken off the runway, if you will, by the time it landed on the back of the head of La Cruz. You know, conventional wisdom says a good boxer generally beats a good puncher. And in this instance, while La Cruz is doing some good boxing, mostly from the outside, the puncher in Mekhontsev hasn't really had an opportunity to land much of what he's thrown. He seems like he's getting close, but every time he seems to graze the surface of La Cruz is able to thwart that with fancy footwork and good body movement.
And there's another good shot from the Cuban. And there's only 5 seconds. This is one of those fights where You're happy to be behind the mic and not on the judging committee. Very close. Confident. The bell, La Cruz. Has Mekhontsev done enough in that third round? Very difficult to see.
Yeah, it was just a point. I mean, you know, I did feel that La Cruz was on his bicycle a little bit in that last round, and while the judges can't take a point away for that lack of engagement, you know, they may have subconsciously felt that Mekhontsev had done enough in that round by way of scoring blows, although my sense tells me La Cruz is going to eke out a close one.
Remember, in the blue, the Cuban boxer went into the third and final round with just a 1-point advantage. And does that advantage give him enough to go all the way through to the final? He's got it. Well, that is a great result in the men's light heavy division for Julio La Cruz. The 14th ranked boxer knocks out the #1 ranked boxer in this competition, and in the semi-finals, 21-15. A great performance from the young Cuban who goes into the final, and he will watch the next bout very carefully to see who his opponent will be.